and a solution provider from Sungrow side. Then I have with me Rumishan. He's basically responsible for the service side. He's also a service engineer. So he's responsible for technical support, any after sales issues. And yes, yeah. So yeah, Rumishan, you can go ahead and just introduce yourself.
Yeah, you've said most of the stuff, by the way. Yeah, that's what I do basically. Yes, my name is Remission Mujela. I'm the channel service engineer for basically for the CNI market of all Sungrow devices, basically. Yes. Hello?
Yes, we hear you. Thanks for the introduction. Alton.
Thanks
just make sure you are muted.
Yeah, so our agenda for today is
Alton. Sorry, guys. I think Alton is just experiencing technical difficulty. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So our scope for today is I'm going to quickly go through our new road.
Sorry, Leonard. We normally just start with a bit of a company. We can hear you, but we normally just start with a bit of a company introduction, as mentioned. Alton is just going to quickly go through some products, and then he will give over to you guys to share your screen. Okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, Alton, just quickly go ahead and then you can give it over to the Sungrow guys. Alton?
Is happening here with my laptop. Apologies for that. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, it's sort of like a delay of my laptop here. Let's try this one more time. Okay, let's try this one more time. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Laptop is freezing on me right now. Apologies. Okay, so
Alton, just go to the second slide and then you can just click on them. This is taking a bit too long now, I think.
It's frozen. Okay, there we go.
Click on, yeah, just do that. Thanks.
It's frozen. Oh, there we go. Okay, so as IBC, we offer modules, inverters, and storage systems with other accessories. So in our portfolio, we have our IBC, Longi, Jollywood, and Canadian modules. And we also do have our own mounting structure, which is our IBC mounting structures, your Aerofix, some of you may know of it. And on our inverter side, we do have SMA, Pronius, Victron, Goodwe, Attest, and Sungrow, which is something that we recently put in our portfolio from almost the end of last year. And on our storage side, we do have SolMD, a local battery manufacturer, and BYD. So that's on our offerings. And then also on accessories, we do have accessories such as meteor control. But in today's training, we'll be focusing much more on Sungrow. Now on the team side, we do have Daniel, who's the managing director, and Helga, who's the head of finance and operations. And on the marketing side, you do have Zane with Barmain. Supply chain and sales administration side, we have Shemaine, Kim, Michaela, and Tanya. So these are the people responsible for your orders going into picking. And if there's any issues, you can contact them. We do have Hamu on the accounting side. She handles all our clients' accounts and the business accounts. Now, the most important team here will be your sales managers. So as a client, you will deal directly with your sales manager. If you're in Joburg, your sales manager will be Leo or Jason. And on the Cape Town side was David, Carl, and Ridal. So if you do have any inquiries, if you don't know who your sales manager is, you can always reach out to one of these people and they will then assist you in that. In the technical team in Joburg, we do have Vessel, and Cape Town side, we have myself, Fonse, and Jama. So for any technical inquiries, please feel free to send us an email and we will then assist you. So we do have an online portal training every second week of the month. So please feel free to reach out to your sales manager and they will then book you in to make sure that you are available for our training. If you're new to the whole IBC online portal, please take advantage of this. So you can always be able to get all the information you need, such as your tax invoices, your pro formas, everything is available online. So we do have a special going on. We have 2 deals. So we do have if you purchase a VCOM license from us, you do get a 1-day remote commissioning for free. So all you have to do is book a week prior to that, and then one of our technical team will then reach out to you to assist you in your commissioning. So if you do need more information, please contact your sales manager and they'll be able to guide you with all the right process you need to follow for us to be able to assist you in your commissioning. So please note, this is a 1-day remote support only, not on site, and also 8 hours. So terms and conditions do apply to this. And then you have also another sales deal, which is your Attest and SolMD. So if you purchase the whole full complete system from us, you will then get a 1-day remote support commissioning for this from our technical department. So feel free to, when you make your order, please inform your sales manager that you will need technical support, and then we can then book a day for you. Thank you for taking the time to listen, and I will then give this chance now to Leo to then start with the Sungrow training. Leo, hoping to learn a lot from you, and welcome to IBC Sungrow training.
Azay, thanks so much. Apologies, I just had some internet issues, but all sorted out from our side. Yeah, so our agenda for today is I will basically go through our roadmap for 2024. And then I will hand over to Remission to go through all the technical detail and everything with you. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen. Okay, just let me know if you guys can see my screen clearly.
Yes.
All right, yeah, so just for our commercial and residential business unit, this is our roadmap at the moment that we're looking at for 2024. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, yeah, so just in terms of MBLE, so we currently have the optimizers also in South Africa. But this is for different versions of our products. So for the 6RS, you will have to make sure that the version that you buy is the version 13. And for obviously the 25CXP2 also will be version 12 for our region. So just make sure that if you purchase this inverters from us, that it is optimizer ready. So the optimizers will also be ready in South Africa already with these versions selected or mentioned. Then we do have a 1.4 kilowatt solution with the optimizers with the 23 amp solution, and this will be available in Q4. That was last year actually. So this is a new version that will be available in Q4 this year, and it's called the SP1400D, which is just a larger amp rating for our region. And this is the solution for the HTC XP2 125 and 50 and 33 kilowatt streaming inverters solution. Then also, which will also be available in South Africa soon. This will allow for 4-in-1. This is the versions that we will receive. The third solution also towards the optimizers. So technical info will be released on these units also. Then the micro inverters will, as I mentioned, we are going to have 4 demo sites in Indonesia, and then we will start with mass production in May 2024. So it will be available in Q3 of 2024. Then, as I mentioned, we currently have the SP600S optimizers available, with the SP1400D being released in Q4. So microinverters will be available in Q2, Q3 for our region, most likely Q3. So yeah, that's just our MLPE portfolio. Then in terms of residential, so currently we have the 6RS and 10RS available. That's, as you all know. Then we have the 3-phase solution, which is 15 and 25T. So that's our new, that's our current range that we offer. Then we're also going to release a 20RT P2. That just basically allows for optimizer capability and also a 16 amp string current, as the same with the 25 and 15T. This will only be the optimizer ready version. Then in terms of hybrid solutions, for our region, we have the 6RS and the 10RS single phase solution. This is an on-off grid solution with the black start capability. It has a 10 millisecond seamless changeover, and you can parallel up to 2 units of these inverters. Then just in terms of hybrid 3-phase, so currently for our region, we have the 15T and 25T, which is a 15 kilowatt inverter and 25 kilowatt inverter. And we have a 200% DC-AC ratio. So you can actually add 200% of the inverter's capacity in terms of DC capacity. So with the 25T, you can actually add 50 kilowatts of PV to it, and then you can charge your battery with 25 kilowatts and supply your AC loads with 25 kilowatts at the same time. So essentially, it has a 50 kilowatt MPPT rating, and the same with the 15T, which is a 30 kilowatt MPPT rating. Just in terms of protection, we have arc-fault circuit interruption 2.0 built into all these inverters with SPD type 1 and 2 protection. It has 50 amp fast charging current on the battery side with a 10 milliseconds seamless switching, and you can maximum parallel 8 units of these solutions in parallel. We also have a IP65 C5 anti-corrosion protection, which is aluminium enclosed, so you can use this as a coastal solution. Just in terms of our new batteries, so we actually have the new batteries also available on order. This is also a modular design compared to the normal SPR batteries. With the solution, you can start from 10 kilowatts on one 10 kilowatt hour on one stack. Then you can go up to 15, 20, 25, 30, and 40 kilowatt hours. So in terms of having the 3.2 kilowatt hours compared to the SPR batteries, we now have the 5 kilowatt hour battery stacks. So you can also parallel these batteries up until 4 units, and also have the IP65 capability compared to the IP55 of the SPR. So we also increased the IP rating of the batteries itself. Just in terms of, this is just a quick introduction of the paralleling of our 25 and 15T inverters. So Currently, this is a basic SLD of how we will done the paralleling. So we will have a smart switch in the middle just to make sure that the system goes into bypass when the inverter synchronizes back to grid again. This will just make sure that the system is more reliable. And this is also a patent design, which is Sungrow is in the process of patenting this solution. So this is just a basic principle. It's similar to other brands in terms of paralleling on backup port and grid port, but we have a smart switch solution which makes the system much more reliable when paralleling inverters. So yeah, like I mentioned today, we have the 15 and 2015 inverters available. You can parallel two. We have tested in South Africa 2 parallel versions, and we have 4 parallel demo sites running at the moment in South Africa. So all these solutions has been tested in parallel in South Africa, and they're ready for our market. In March 2024, which is this month, we will have the full paralleling firmware available for our market. And we will have a generator integration demo with the solution as well to ensure that we have generator functionality, start-stop functionality for off-grid and on-grid applications. Then in June 2024, we will have the 8 paralleling solution available for the 15 and 25T solution. Then in terms of the new battery, so the new battery that we are planning to release is a 5 kWh solution. This will be a 1C application with 50 amps discharging and discharging, and it will also be wall mounted with IP55 rating, and it will also be a high voltage solution similar to our other solutions. So you will also be able to parallel 4 of these batteries in parallel, adding up to 20 kWh. So this is just our approach towards 1C applications in South Africa, which will also be much more cost effective compared to our normal 0.7C solutions. But the downside is obviously this is not modular compared to our SPH and SPR solutions. Then, yeah, just in terms of basically the technical data, so this will be a 5.1 kWh solution. And it will also be a 50 amp charge and discharge with a 1C application. It will be IP55, and the cycle life would be 4,000 cycles and 80% depth of discharge, since it's a 1C application. So obviously you can't use the full capacity of the battery as with the SPH and SPR solutions. So the new battery plan will be product training. So in June 2024, we will start with product training. We will run 4 demo sites with these batteries to ensure everything is stable, and we will comply with certification. And in August 2024, we will have a small batch of orders, and we will start mass production in September 2024. Then in terms of residential ESS, just to give you more or less a timeline. So today we have the 10RS and 6RS available, and also the 25 and 15T 3-phase solutions. The batteries currently, as I mentioned, we have the SPR and the SHP, which will be released soon. And then we will have the new SPS 050 in Q3. We are planning, or we are actually investigating the market to also add an 8 kilowatt inverter, which will be the same platform as with the 10RS, but that will be confirmed very soon. Just in terms of CNI, so with CNI, we currently have the P2 inverters in the 33, 50, and 125 CXP2 solutions. So we will add a new version 21, which actually improves on improved derating capability. So these inverters will start to derate only at 50 degrees Celsius. It will be the optimizer friendly compatible version, and it also will have the IM4 capability, as with the previous 110, 110 CX range inverters. Then also we're planning to release 150 CX, HT150 CX. So this will be a 150 kilowatt stringing solution. So this will allow for a 48 amp per MPPT, 7 MPPTs, and 21 strings. So the reason for decreasing the MPPTs are due to the actually MPPT losses. So that's the reason why we went for 7 MPPTs, and we increased the MPPT current to 48 volts. This will also have SPD protection built into it with DC protection class 1 and class 2, and then AC protection class 2. It will have our new arc field circuit interruption 3.0, which will be a complete fuseless design as well. And it will be IP65 or IP66 plus C5 aluminum enclosed. Then just our pipeline for the solution, we will have 4 demo sites in April 2024, and in October 2024 we will start mass production with our optimizer capability, and then in January 2025 we will have mass production with optimizer friendly capabilities. I say that's it for me on our roadmap. Any questions from you guys?
So there is a question here from Vessel. What is all required for AC coupling to Victron on your grid tie? I'm not sure if you will answer this or it will be on the technical side.
Yeah, that will be on the technical side. But typically you will need a third-party EMS that will be controlling the string inverter on our side. So this solution technically will have to be supported by Victron because they will have the hybrid inverter. And I'm guessing that their EMS will control our inverters as well, similar to the other AC couple solutions that they offer. So they will just directly communicate towards our inverter. So this functionality will have to be confirmed by Victron themselves, but I do believe there are already solutions like this in the market that has been done successfully.
Okay, thank you for that. Just also to let everyone know, if you do have questions, please type them on the meeting chat, and then we will then make sure that your questions are answered. And yep, that's it from my side. And then we can then probably now head on to the technical side. And yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna
Remission.
head over. Yeah, I'm gonna hand over to Remission. So he's gonna take it from here. And I will be in and out of this meeting in the process. I just had to attend to other responsibilities as well. So Remission, you're in good hands with Remission. So yeah, thank you, Remission. You can continue.
Yeah. Before you leave, Leonard, is
Yes.
it the CNI or the hybrids, the presentation that I'm supposed to give now?
Yeah. CNI and residential base.
Residential hybrids as well.
Yes. Apologies. Yes. Both. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. No worries. And then no worries. Cool. If I can just share my screen and then we can start.
All right.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, yeah, we can see it.
Okay. I'll start with the hybrid what you call presentation basically. So like Leonard was mentioning, yes, we do have the hybrids and the CNI and the what you call grid ties. So just to answer that question, the last question that was asked about the Vectron working with our CNI what you call grid ties. So our inverters can frequently shift with any device, with any hybrid basically. As long as the hybrid becomes the controller, our inverter will like listen to the hybrid. So doesn't matter if it's a PCS or it's a hybrid inverter, as long as that particular what you call PCS or hybrid inverter can control another grid tie, it will be able to control ours as well. So yeah, and then we're gonna start with the presentation. Basically, this will be the presentation for the hybrids. I'll start with the product basic structure, operation and maintenance app, the commissioning part, the firmware upgrade, the troubleshooting, and the service commitment that Sungrow is willing to give to its clients. And then, so this is basically the product structure and part list, basically. So when you purchase one of our grid ties, our hybrids inverters, I mean, you basically get everything that you need to do the installation besides the cables. So besides the cables and the breakers, obviously, for your loads and the breakers that will supply the inverter itself. But all the other devices will be inside the box for both the single phase and the three-phase hybrid inverters. So the part list that you see on the one that I'm currently highlighting now is the single phase part list, and the other one is the three-phase part list. So everything, even the lugs that you're gonna use to terminate your cables into the inverters, are in the box. The smart meter, the cable communication from the smart meter into the inverter, all of that is in the box. So basically all you need after purchasing one of our inverters, all that you need is the cabling for the DC and the AC. And then basically all our products have the same sort of like LED indicators. If the LED indicators is solid green, solid blue, it means that the inverter is connected to the grid. And then if it's flickering, it means the inverter is on standby. And the only way for the inverter to be on standby is that either the grid or the DC power is completely shut down. And then when the inverter is completely red, it means that there's a fault that is preventing the system from actually starting up. And then when the icon is completely grayed out, it just means that the inverter is completely shut down. It doesn't have any AC or DC power coming into the inverter. And then we have the connector block, the connection, basically the basic structure of connection of the inverter. It's pretty much simple, to be honest. We have what you call AC in, which will be the grid part, and then we have the backup port, which is a plug-in on the 6RS, but on the 10, and on the 10 it's actually you terminate it because the current there is much higher, but on the 6RS it's just a plug and play. You only terminate the grid side. And then on the on the 15T and 25T, it's just plug and play as well. It's just plug in for both grid and the backup port. And then for the communication module, we use the YNET S on the 6RS, and the YNET S2 on the 10, and the YNET S2 on the 15 and the 25. And then it's also in the box. You don't have to buy it, by the way. So all that I'm saying, it's the devices that you need to do the installation basically are in the box, like I said in the beginning. And then I'm just going to highlight the points where you're going to connect. And then on COM2, which is portion number 3, on COM2, that's whereby we do our CAN and RS485 communication. So you need the meter to be able to communicate with the inverter, and then you need the battery to communicate with this inverter via CAN. So you can use the small green connector or a straight RJ485 for the CAN communication, but the RS485 you only use A and B, and that's on the green connector block. And then we have the battery connection port, and we have the PV port. So the battery connection port and the PV ports are not the same on the 6RS and the 10RS, and also the 15 and the 25. The battery connection port are EVO 2s, but the PV connection points are MC4s on all our devices, all the single phase and three phase. One important thing to notice is that on the 5, 6, 10, 15, they are completely fanless. Only the 25 has 2 fans at the bottom. So when you are doing when you're planning your installation, just remember that the 15T the 25T will be a bit louder as compared to the 6, the 10, and the 15, because those ones are completely fanless except for the 25T. It has fans at the bottom. Then as I was saying, and then that's basically it, the connection, the PV, the battery, the comms from the inverter to the meter, the comms from the battery to the inverter, and then the communication module. that gives you access into the inverters. By the way, the only way to be able to communicate with these inverters is that you have the communication module. Hence, it's part of the package. It has to be plugged in for you to have access into the inverter. Then this is the connection block for the communication part. Then for the battery, you can use a straight RJ45 and just plug it on the port, or use CAN high and CAN low on the green connector block. This is the green connector block. So basically you can connect the meter on A2, B2 and CAN high and CAN low on the green connector, or terminate the RJ45 communication from the battery using RJ45 and then plug it on the CAN on the RJ45 CAN on the inverter directly, or just use a normal RJ45 cable, a normal Ethernet cable. You can just take any Ethernet cable and just plug it on the battery and plug it on the inverter. It will work just fine. Then we have the connector block for the 25T. Same thing. A2, B2, that's your meter connection, and the battery can be connected via via what you call RJ45, or you can use CAN high and CAN low directly to communicate with the battery as well. Then this is the basic structure of the 6RS basically, as well as our 3-phase, but this will be the single line diagram. It won't be the 3-phase diagram. So it's completely the same. We have the DC switch from the beginning, but the DC switch, before the DC switch, there's the arc detection board that is sitting in front of the system to protect the system from faults, as well as arcs that come from the strings. Basically, any loose connection on any arcing will be stopped before it even gets to the DC switch. And that's one of the things that Leonard was mentioning about the arc detection fault on the system. And then we have the DC switch, which has SPDs, and then we have the DC EMI filter, and then we have our MPPTs, and then we have our DC bus. We have our battery input, which has a battery relay, and a fuse, a DC EMI filter, and a DC to DC boost that directly connects to the DC bus. And then we have the inverter side, and then the AC filter, then the AC relay, the AC EMI filter, the bypass, and the AC relay that goes to the backup. So one other thing that Leonard mentioned is that we have a 10 millisecond changeover basically. So that 10 millisecond happens when grid falls off. So when grid falls off, normally when this system is connected to grid, the power that will be converted from the DC side, which is from the battery and the PV, goes through this AC relay, and then the AC EMI filter to the bypass, and then to the backup loads, and then to the grid and non-critical loads as well, so the grid loads that side. But the moment the grid falls off, both these relays, the AC relay and the bypass, open, and then power now flows through the AC relay to the AC EMI filter and then to the backup loads. So one important thing is, with all our devices, we have a pass-through except for the 6RS. So the 6RS under grid operation, the backup port still only connects 6 kilowatt. But with the 10, you can connect up to it's 14.5 kilowatt. And then with the 15, if I'm not mistaken, is around 33, and with the 25T is around 43. So the other devices do have a pass-through except for the 6 kilowatt. Just remember that when you check, even when you check from the data sheet, you'll be able to see that all the other devices do have a pass-through except for the 6 kilowatt. And then this is the basic structure basically. We do have a neutral to neutral bonding. Basically, it's just the neutral commonization at the externally through the DB, or you can bond it if possible, but it's an external bonding. You don't need to use a relay. Basically, that's the structure of the system. This is also included in your installation manual. We just put it here so that we can highlight that if you do not have the neutral bonding, your system, when it changes over, a lot of the lights will flicker, or some of the loads might even switch off when it's time to change over from grid to backup. So the most important thing is that you can just use a common neutral for the one from the grid before your earth leakages, or bond the neutral to earth before going into the earth leakage. Either or, the neutral should be bonded, or you be common with the neutral from the grid, as the South African grounding system is a TN system, as a TNCS system, whereby the neutral and earth coming from the municipality or coming from Eskom are already common. So it's already grounded, by the way. So then the next part is for the operation and maintenance tool, we use the isolar cloud. So basically to communicate with these inverters, you need to have the isolar cloud in your phone. Either locally or remotely, you're going to use the isolar cloud, basically with all our devices. You can communicate with all our devices through the isolar cloud, monitor them remotely, change settings remotely, be able to update the firmware remotely, be able to change all settings remotely through the isolar cloud firmware. So it's very important that when you purchase one of our devices, you also download the isolar cloud. That can be found on iStore and as well as Google Play Store. As well as if you can just search for it on Google and search for the isolar cloud app, you'll get it on our website. You can still download it there as well. But to communicate with the inverters, you will need to have the isolar cloud, even to commission or to just to commission. Basically, from the commissioning in the beginning, you need to use the isolar cloud. The data in the isolar cloud refreshes 10 seconds, and the data monitoring is 24/7. It never goes off, and it's free as long as you have a Sungrow device. And then for the another operation sort of like mode, we have self-consumption, which is the normal self-consumption, whereby the system tries by all means not to take power from the grid. And then we have the compulsory mode, whereby we prioritize charging or discharging the batteries depending on what you command the batteries to do. So these are the only two applicable solutions that we have for the South African market, which is self-consumption and compulsory mode. So on self-consumption, the system prioritize not using the grid basically. No matter what, even if grid fails, even if grid is available, the system tries by all means to use PV and the battery to supply the loads. However, with the load shedding schedule that we have in South Africa, Sungrow has also introduced a grid, what you call a reserve stock and grid compensation setting on the self-consumption side, so that you can still reserve some battery capacity for when the system goes to backup, even though it's still on self-consumption. But compulsory mode, that's just complete backup system, whereby you'll set the system to compulsory mode and charge, and the batteries will only discharge when grid falls off. As long as grid is available, the batteries will continuously charge. Then we have the isolar cloud, whereby you have to download first, register to register an account so that you can have access to the isolar cloud remote maintenance. So the registering part, you just have to press register and just make sure that the server that you select is the international server, as the South African technical support only has access to the international server. We have four servers. We have the international server, the Chinese server, the European server, and the Australian server. We only have access to the international server. So when you're doing you're creating your accounts, just make sure that you create an account as a distributor so that the system doesn't limit you. Because if you select end user, you won't be able to change any settings after commissioning the plant. And the moment you commission it, you still won't have access to change any of the settings if you select end user. So it's very important that you select the international server and distributor or installer when creating an account. The other stuff, it's your email, and then your password is from you. The company name is not that important, and the code of upper level or installer distributor is not that relevant. So this code only works if ever the company has already created an account. For example, if IBC creates an account and the next employer of IBC needs to create an account, they can just create an account and get that code of upper installer level and then add it here so that they can see the other plans that were commissioned by their colleagues. So the code of upper level, if you are doing your first registration, is not necessary, but if your colleague is registering, you just have to give them this code so that you'll have common platform, so that the plans that are commissioned by one person can still be visible to the other person. You don't have to share the plant. As long as you have the same installer code or distributor code, you will be able to see the same plans, no matter from which account they're actually commissioned from. And then we have the next part, which is actually just creating a plant. In the app, the moment you finish registering, it will ask you to create a plant. So all these plants that you're going to create are the ones that you're basically going to be commissioning. The plant before commissioning or after you commission the system, you have connected the system to AC, you've basically powered up the inverter. You can just create a plant directly on the iSolar cloud. And then this as well will also run through the commissioning process as well. So the moment you finish your connection, you just power everything on, you go to your iSolar Cloud app, you press create plant, and then it will create a plant while as well at the same time commissioning that particular plant. And then we have a small video here I'm just going to play for you, whereby my manager Glenn, shows you how easy it is to commission one of our plants locally on a complete backup system.
Ramesh, we can't hear sound. I'm not sure if there's a voiceover for the video.
Yeah, there is one. I'm not sure why there's no voiceover, but the volume is up. I'm not sure why it's not sharing the voiceover.
Can you perhaps just maybe make notes or just comment as the video go on?
Yeah, so basically what he's trying to do now is, okay, let me just, I'll do the voiceovers. So basically the first step is to select the network. And then for the purpose of this training, basically, he used our Sungrow Service Center network, basically. So the moment you just log on to the plant, like you saw in the initial page, whereby you used admin and the password PW88, it will direct you to that, what you call, to that setup wizard. And the next thing to do after that is just to select the network. And then after selecting the network, you'll put on the password, and it will just connect as long as it's 4G. It can only connect to up to 2.4 gigahertz, by the way. So 4G going down, it will work, but 5G, it has trouble connecting to that. And then the next part is device initialization, whereby you're gonna select the country code, and it will automatically select the NRS as the grid type if you select South Africa. One important thing is that the feed-in limitation, if you wanna feed back into the grid or limit, you have to enable it. But if you're not allowed to feed back into the grid, you can just change the feed-in limitation value to 0 and the feed-in limitation ratio to 0 as well. Then the last thing will be to enable the backup mode. That needs to be enabled, or else the inverter, when grid falls off, it will just shut down. Then you enable the backup mode and you press settings. And then automatically the settings will go through, and it will ask you to complete or to turn on the device, depending if you're using an iPhone, it will ask you to turn on the device. The moment you turn on the device, the inverter will go to standby. You'll see the network status, you'll see the server status. One important thing is that the server status must be the international server, as well as the account is sitting on the international server. Then the other thing to do will be to actually change the operation mode. So to be able to check or change the server, you have to click on the server status and then make sure that it's on the international server. But initially it would be on custom. You should just click on the international server. Now your your device will have internet connection and be connected to the international server at the same time. So anyone that is on the international server and has access to the plant will be able to see it. And then the next thing is to select the operation mode, which is more settings, energy management parameters, general parameters. By default, the inverter will be on self-consumption. So you just have to change that, since this is a complete backup system. You put it on compulsory mode and you set it to charge continuously. As long as there's grid, the inverter will charge. And then you tell the system on how much you actually want to charge with. So with the 6 kilowatt, you can go to 6. With the 10, you can go to 10. And then with the 15, you can go to 15. With the 25, you can go to 25. So basically, this is the same for all those devices. And then the inverter will go to an operation mode, which is startup. And then depending on the operation mode, if it's compulsory, it will go to a forced charge operation mode. When grid falls off, it will change that mode to backup operation. So the mode you see just below the network status, that will be the operation mode. So in this case, it will be a forced charge mode since the system is set on compulsory mode charge only. And basically that's it. The plant will be commissioned. The only thing you need to do after this is to actually just create a plant on the international server using the serial number of the dongle. And then that's basically it for the commissioning. And then we have the firmware upgrade. So with our systems, what I actually recommend is after you've commissioned the system, the moment you create the plant, just go to firmware update, update the battery, update the inverter, update the dongle. So you can update all three devices. So depending on which device you have, the firmware is always available on the iSolar Cloud Remote Maintenance, the latest one. So what I also recommend is, unless told by Sungrow technical support or Sungrow applications, which is Leonard, you don't need to change the firmware as long as the plant is working correctly. Unless there's a feature that you require and we ask you to update the firmware, then update the firmware. Or you have an issue that you can clear and we recommend that you actually update the firmware, then you update the firmware. You don't need to continuously update the firmware as long as the plant is working correctly. Or Sungrow suggests you do so. Then we have the troubleshooting steps. So with the troubleshooting part, I don't like to go through the troubleshooting part because the app is also a troubleshooting manual for you. So whatever fault that it is that you're gonna get on the system, the app itself will be able to tell you that you have this fault and how to actually solve it and what's the cause of that particular fault. So what you see here on the app itself, you'll be able to tell you that you have a grounding fault, which is error 106, and then it will tell you the cause of origin is the grounding cable fault, and then it will tell you the cause of that fault is that there's weak contact of the grounding cable or grounding cable connection is abnormal, and then it will tell you actually what to do to actually be able to solve that particular fault. And then if all those steps don't work, then you can contact Sungrow. Normally we have technical support, I would say 24 hours. If ever you have an issue with your site, you can just pop it up in the group. So normally what we do is that we possibly have an IBC group whereby all your installers are in that particular group. When they have an issue, they pop a question there and a Sungrow, a Sungrow technical support will support or directly communicates with your technical support team. If your technical support team have an issue, they can directly contact Sungrow and Sungrow will be able to assist the client. So all of these, but the only thing that I normally explain in this part is that we have alarms and then we have faults. So alarms, the system will work just fine, just like these ones. The inverter will work with PV and the grid, but if grid falls off and the PV is not sufficient, the inverter will actually switch off. But the inverter will work just fine with these ones. It will be producing power from PV with all the alarms, by the way. And then we have one important feature in the settings and under our power control, which is called meter reverse correction. We use this to correct the CT direction. If ever the client has connected the CT and the CT is in reverse and the power constantly is negative in the house, we just enable the meter reverse connection correction to get a positive value on the load. And then we have a quick and easy RMA process. We have a 10-year warranty for both battery and inverter, 6,000 cycles with 100% DOD. We only replace, we do not repair the devices that are going to be damaged on site. And then, like I said, our online technical support is available 24/7 on the WhatsApp service. And basically, and then we have YouTube tutorial videos on YouTube that you can also look at, like the video that I posted. We have basically YouTube videos for the complete connection of our system. If ever you're struggling or you're preparing to go to site, you can just go to our YouTube page, and there you will be able to you'll be able to learn how to do the connection from the beginning to the end, and basically up to the commissioning and creating a plan, because all those videos are available on our YouTube channel. The 48-hour maintenance national coverage, it means that if ever there's a damaged unit that needs to be, we need to get an RMA. What we promise our clients is within 48 hours, that particular device will be replaced through our distributors, basically. And then that's it. That's the rest of the hybrid presentation. I'm not sure if you're still up for the CNI one, because it's a bit longer, and yeah, if you need to take a break, we can take a break, or we can just go through the other one as well.
Yeah, Ramesh, I think we can go through it.
Okay.
And
Okay.
yeah, just better to get it over and done with. And then we'll just
Okay,
see for
cool.
time, and Zane will just let us know when you're out of
So
time.
yeah. So one other thing is that I can share these with you guys, the IBC guys as well. And if you have questions, you can directly call me if you have questions. And then you can
Okay,
still
perfect.
share. You can still share these slides with your installers. No worries. It's not confidential.
Okay, no, thanks for that. Yeah.
Okay. And then now the CX. Basically, we have the CX and the CXP2 series, right? The CXP2 series are the ones that are replacing the old CX. Basically, like I've stated here, the old CX, we have the 33, we have the 33, we have the 40, we have the 50, we have the 110, we have the SG33, we have the 50, we have the 125. So the 125 completely replaced the 110, but the 50 has a P2 version, and the 33 has a P2 version. Then these are the basically the products that we have for Gretize for the CNI market. And then, like I was saying from the beginning, all the devices, all the stuff that you need to do the installation basically on the inverter, the only thing that you're not gonna get as part of the package is the meter. The rest of the stuff is in the box. The mounting structure, the screws, the termination lugs on the AC side, it's there. All the MC4s for PV connections are also included in the box. Then we have the old version, the now version, and the old version, which is these ones, the CX, and then we have the new versions that are replacing the CX. But for the South African market, we have the 33 CX and the 33 CX P2. We have the 40 and the 50 CX, and then we have the 40 and the 50 CX P2. We have the 110 CX and the 125 P2. And then the difference is, I've just highlighted the difference basically of all the devices, is that for the 33 and the CX and the 33 CX P2 is that the 33 can only handle up to 13 amps per MPPT string. So in total, 1 MPPT on the CX takes up to 26 amps. After that, it will cap the current. And then the P2 will take up to 30. Then all of the P2s, just like that, they will take up to 30. And then, but the CX versions will only take up to 26. And then the 33 has 3 MPPTs with 2 MPP it has 3 MPPTs with 2 input per strings with 2 string inputs per MPPT. So basically you'll have 6 string connection points with 3 MPPTs. This one will have 5 with 5 MPPTs with 2 string connections, and this one, the 110, has 9 with 2 string inputs, and then the 125 has 12 MPPTs with 2 inputs as well. And then the MPPT operating range for the 33, it's a minimum of 200 volts, and then the 33 P2, it's 160. For the 50 as well as the same, and for the 110, it's 200 as well as the compared to the old CX versions, is 200 to 1000, 200 to 1000, 200 to 1000, except for the P2 versions, which is 160 to 1000, 160 to 1000, except for the 125, which is 180 is to 1000. And our systems can all work in basically all three grounding systems. It can work in IT, can work in TT, and it can work in TN, basically, depending on how your system, your connection on that particular site is. And then the rated output power of these systems is 33, but all of our inverters have a 60% reactive power production capability, which still will change the rating of the inverter to a kVA rating. It will still be a 110 kVA, but it can produce up to 60% of reactive power while dropping the active power to 40%, depending on how you want to utilize it. All of these devices are capable of that. Then they have built-in communication of Bluetooth and RS-485. So to communicate directly to the inverter, you can use the iSolar Cloud via Bluetooth. And then to control the inverters, it has to be Modbus RTU, basically RS-485 connection to the inverter from that particular controller that you want to use on the system. And then we have the basic structure, like this one, just like the other one. The first part before the DC, after the DC input, there should be an arc detection fault board, and then goes to the DC switch, goes to the DC SPDs, the DC EMI filter, the boost, our boost depending. So this is the structure of the 110. Since you can see that it has 9 MPPTs. So if it's the 125, it will have 12 MPPTs. If it's the 33, it will have 3. If it's the 50, it will have 5 MPPTs. So this is just the basic structure of the 110. Then goes to the DC bus, goes to the inverter circuit, whereby it changes the DC to AC. You have your AC filter, AC relays, and your AC EMI filter as well. And then the SPD. So basically all our boards in the inverter itself have SPDs for surge protection, basically. And then that's basically it. So the one important thing to mention with these devices is that they are compatible compatibility wise. We have the IM4, which is a logger. We have the YNET S, which is a monitoring device. And then we have the Logger 1000, which is a logger as well. So the YNET S only offers you monitoring via the iSolar Cloud. So you won't have remote access into the plant. You won't have control over the plant. The only thing that you'll have is access through the iSolar Cloud app. Then we have the IM4, basically, which can take up to 10 devices, including the meter. It's completely wireless. If you ever gonna connect the system to internet, you have to use Wi-Fi, and it has to be 4G or less. To commission the plant, you'll just need the browser, and that provided provided at the top is the IP address. The moment you log onto the system and punch the password, which I'll introduce later on, it will automatically take you to the setup wizard page. But to commission the IM4 and the Logger 1000, you don't use the iSolar Cloud app. You use a browser, any browser. It can be Google, it can be Microsoft Edge. As long as it's a browser, you use that to actually commission the site. Okay, and then the IM4 offers you iSolar Cloud monitoring and remote maintenance. So basically, you can change settings on one particular inverter even if you are not on site through the IM4. But with the YNET S, you are only going to be monitoring your devices, and it's one YNET per device. So with the IM4, it's 10 devices on one IM4, and then with the Logger 1000, it's 30 devices on one Logger 1000. One important thing is the P2 series that we currently have in South Africa are not compatible with the IM4. So if you are to purchase the IM4 and you are to purchase the P2 series, inverters, you will need to use the Logger 1000 if you need iSolar Cloud and remote maintenance on that particular plant. It also offers you active and reactive power control. And then third-party communication is applicable on the Logger 1000. It gives you open and closed loop operation. So by third-party communication, I mean you can get any controller and you still have access to the iSolar cloud and the remote maintenance. So you still have access to go to the iSolar cloud and change whatever settings that you want on any particular inverter that you have on site, while the inverters are still controlled by a third-party controller. The Logger 1000 provides you that capability. None of our controllers except for the iSolar Cloud will offer you that capability. The IM4, it's good if only you have these inverters and you're not going to do any generator integration. It will just be the inverters with the grid and a meter. It will control them and you still have access to them. But just remember that it only takes up to 10 devices and that includes the meter. Just like the Logger 1000, it takes up to 30 devices and that includes the meter. So meaning it's 29 inverters and 1 meter. The IM4 only has closed loop operation. So closed loop operation is continuously getting set points from the meter itself. Then open loop, you just tell the system to produce a constant amount of power and it produces that. But the closed loop as well, on the Logger 1000, it still looks at the meter and produce to avoid actually feeding back to the grid if you are doing zero export. Then we have the sort of like connectors of the structure of the 125. So this basically is the 125. You have 3 DC switches, and those are the MPPT inputs at the bottom. And then we have your comms plug in, but with this comms, these ones are only compatible with the YNET S or the Logger 1000, but the Logger 1000 doesn't connect on COM3. It directly goes to the bus of the A1B1 of the RS485 of the inverter. That I'll explain later. So basically, this is just a structure. These are DC switch. This is your PV input. This is your comms for the YNET S, and then you have your AC cabinet, which is on the side. And then with the grid ties, if the inverter is solid blue, it means the inverter is actually connected to the grid. But if the inverter is slow blinking, it means that particular inverter is on standby or trying to connect to the grid. But if the light is blinking fast, it just means that the system is connected to a Bluetooth device and is communicating via Bluetooth with another device. And then the red one just means that the inverter has a fault that is preventing the system to start up. The gray one just means both AC or DC power is actually off. And then we have applications of our systems. So basically the first application is inverter and dongle, meaning if it's the CX version is the inverter and the IM4. And then if it's the inverter and IM4, you just need the meter, the CT to be able to do zero export, or you can still feed back to the grid depending on the settings, but you just need the inverter and the meter, and that will be the basic setup. It will be meter going directly to the bus of the inverter, and then via RS485 and the dongle plugged in on COM3 of that particular inverter, and the CT sitting in the main incomer so that the CTs can be able to read the power that's actually coming from the grid. And then you do your setup, you do your commissioning, and that will work. The next part is the inverter and the Logger 1000. One important thing is that with our devices, you can connect up to 30, including the meter, but the important thing to note is that it doesn't matter which the size of the inverter. You can mix match with all our devices. You can use a 33, a 110, 120, and 125 and a 50 on site. As long as you have the Logger 1000, it will be able to send the right set points to each and every inverter, because it sends set points in percentage depending on the amount of power that is required from the grid side. So basically, it doesn't matter which device it is. As long as you have them, you can mix match. It doesn't matter. It will work just fine. But remember, all the comms will directly go to the Logger 1000, which has 3 COM ports available. It has A1B1, A2B2, and A3B3, which are completely separate RS485 ports. So the inverters will go on to its own port. The meter will go to its own port as well, separately. So now the Logger will be the master of the whole installation. And then with Logger 1000, with RS485, with the Logger 1000 connector block, is that from each and every inverter, there's A1, B1, A1, B1. So the A1, B1 is common, but we make it easier to have 2 ports so that you have in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. So directly from the logger 1000, you'll go to the out of the inverter, and from the out of the inverter, you'll go to the next inverter. That's basically how your daisy chaining is going to be. And then the meter will be sitting on a different port, like I said previously, and the inverters will be sitting on a different port on the logger 1000. And then we have the RJ485, communication with the dongle. So basically, the setup for the dongle and the inverter is the dongle directly goes to COM3, and then the inverter, meter, can go directly to the terminal port. So you can use A1, B1 because it will just, if it's just one inverter and 1 meter, but if it's one inverter, it's 1 meter and multiple inverters. The inverters will go directly to the A1, B1, and then the A3, B3 or A2, B3 in the old CX versions, it will be where you're going to connect the meter. So the meter always sits on a different COM port to the Sungrow devices. Since it's a third-party meter, normally we use the Acrel DSTD 1352. So that sits on a different COM port than our inverters, because if you put it on the same port, COM port as the inverters, we won't be able to pick up the meter, because the meter we normally add, we don't actually pick it up. We just add it separately as a separate device. But the meter, the inverters themselves, the moment you connect them on the bus, you'll automatically pick them up. And then this is the Sungrow with third-party controller for generator integration. So we as Sungrow, we don't have generator integration, but you can use any controller that is capable of doing generator integration. You can use the Wattmon, you can use the Wattmon, you can use the Elom, you can use the Incobi. But so far, the one that has been tested with the Logger 1000, so the box that you see there is called the COM100E. It has the Logger 1000 built inside. Basically, it's just a box that powers up the Logger 1000. So you can see that the RS485 communications goes directly into the Logger 1000. The RS485 communications from the inverters goes directly into the COM100. Then if your controller communicates via RS485, you can still take this controller and put it on the third port of the Logger 1000. Or if it communicates via TCP, I mean, if it communicates via TCP, you can just plug it on a switch together with the Logger 1000 plugged to that particular same switch for them to be able to communicate. So this is the basic setup. If your controller uses RS485, then you just plug it directly on the inverter. If it uses TCP, you can plug them to a switch. And then we have the dry contact for emergency stop. With the dry contact, you can use a normally closed or a normally open dry contact switch. So with a normally open dry contact switch, you don't need to change any settings. You can just plug them on the DI like I've indicated at the bottom. You can connect it on the DI digital input port, and just leave it like that with the normally open switch. But with the normally closed switch, you have to connect them, then enable the NS protection passive valid. You just have to enable one setting on the system for the dry contact emergency stop to be able to work. But you can either use a normally closed switch or a normally open switch. And then we have the iSolar, iSolar Cloud operation. Same with the hybrids. You can download it on Google Play or App Store, and then you can log on to the system when the inverter is powered on via AC or DC, either way. And the distance between the phone and the inverters should be within 5 meters. Your phone's Bluetooth should be turned on if you want to communicate directly to the inverter, or use Wi-Fi that is generated by either of our loggers, which will be the Logger 1000 or the IM4 or the YNET S if you have opted to use the YNET S on that particular site. And then basically to log in, you just have to scan the QR code of the inverter or scan the QR code of the communication module, which will be the Logger 1000 or the IM4. But with the IM4, can't use the app. You can only basically with the IM4 and the Logger 1000, you can't use the app to commission. You can only use this method to be able to connect directly to the inverter when you're locally on site, or use this method with the YNet S. And then when you're connected to the inverter locally directly, this is the menu that you get. So you get the date and time display, the inverter status, the PID function status, the trend chart, the power supply, the power generation display, the air outlet, the power curve, and the navigation bar. So basically all the data from that particular inverter you can access if you have connected to it locally via Bluetooth using the iSolar Cloud app. And from there, you can be able to change all the settings that you need to via the app, or you can still do it remotely if you have the IM4 or the Logger 1000. And then this just explains how to create an account, which I've already explained in the previous slide. You still make sure that you're on the international server and you select the distributor and your email there. So the code of upper level, I'll explain again. If you only need this if one of your colleagues has already created an account, you just have to ask them for the code of upper level from their account, and then you'll have common plans. As long as you commission, your colleague will be able to see that, and that's the list goes like that. You just have to share the code of upper level to have the same plans. Basically, depending on where you commissioned from, they'll always appear on your account. And then we have the creation of plant. Same thing with the hybrids. You just log on to the plant to the app directly and create a plant. It will run you through the commissioning as well while you are creating a plant at the same time as well. And then for operation and maintenance, like I was saying, you use the iSolar Cloud app, or you can use the iSolar Cloud browser. Basically, you can just go to isolarcloud.com and then select the international server there. You can still do export history data, fault record, firmware upgrade, parameter setting, and data checking on both your app as well as the iSolar Cloud platform. And then for the commissioning part, just to remember, as you can see here, the RS485 port that you see here, RS485 is for the Sungrow devices directly, and RS485 is for the meter directly. So the meter sits on a different bus as the Sungrow devices. The Sungrow devices will be picked up automatically, but the meter you have to add it separately. And then to add the meter, you just have to enable the transparent transmission via standby port, which is a setting on the inverter directly, and then after that you add the meter. The standard Modbus number for the meter is always 254, which we normally assist clients when they are on site doing their first commissioning. If ever you need assistance, you just have to give us a call. We'll be able to explain this more when you're on site as well. Then the commissioning part, to load the setup wizard with the IM4 and the Logger 1000 and the YNet S, is you just have to search the network that is currently being generated by that particular dongle, connect to it, open a browser, and use the IP address 11.11.11.1. Then it will give you access to the system. And the password that you need, basically, it's PW1111. So the moment you log onto that particular device, it will ask for user login. You just have to use the PW111111, which you can change after commissioning the plant. Then if you need to, but it's easier to leave it like this because everyone remembers it. Basically, if you are to ask a Sungrow person to have a look at your plant, they can also access it, just in case you misplace or forget the password that you should change it to. So now the password will be PW11.11, and then it will run you through the setup wizard automatically. Basically, it will take you from network configuration, device initialization, create a plant, and the overview after when you're done. Then just to make sure that all the settings are done correctly, is the Wi-Fi, the Wi-Fi connection is under port parameter, Wi-Fi or Ethernet, and then the transfer configuration under the server, it should be under this international server. And then if you create a plant, then everything will be picked up. So one important thing is that if you just use Ethernet and leave it like that without inputting the IP address, it will automatically be on DHP. It will pick up an IP address and try to connect to that IP address to give the system internet connection. unless you have a static IP address, which you just have to click on the Ethernet and close the DHP, then input that particular IP address with the subnet mask and the DSN as well, just to be able to get internet connection either way. Same thing with other devices basically, but one important thing is that that system must be under the international server, and to be able to change settings remotely, you need to enable the remote maintenance, which is something that we can do remotely as well, but it's easier that you just do it when you're commissioning so that you can change settings immediately remotely. Then we have adding the devices. So when we add the devices, normally the device that we add is the meter, like I was saying. So the Sungrow devices will be automatically picked up by the logger, and then you just have to add the meter. You just have to select the type of meter, the port that is connected to, and whether it's a gateway or an electricity meter, but the standard Modbus address for the DTSD 11352 is 254. That's the Modbus address to communicate with Sungrow devices, the standard one. And then after adding that particular device, you'll see that the devices will be communicating. If the COM status is solid green, it means that inverter and basically the controller and those devices are communicating. If it's red, it means there's no communication, meaning it's either wiring fault or the Modbus address is incorrect. And then after that, you go to the meter, you go to device, or you call initial parameters on the meter itself. That's where you actually set the ratio, the CT ratio. So you don't need to change anything on the meter. You can directly go to the iSolar Cloud and change the CT ratio so that the system can be able to see how much you're actually drawing from the grid or pushing back into the grid. And then for zero export, like I was explaining in the beginning, you have to use closed loop control and the meter. And then at the bottom, one important thing to do is you can also have a fixed value that is coming from the grid, whereby you can use a negative value. If it's -2, the system will constantly draw 2 kilowatts from the grid before production. After that, that's when the inverter will only produce after you are drawing more than 2 kilowatt coming from the grid, according to the setup that was done here on the system. You don't need to enable the feed-in limitation. You just have to set the system exactly like this. And then for firmware upgrade, you just have to log on to our iSolar Cloud. The firmware is always on the iSolar Cloud. It's always up to date. So you can just log on the app or the browser, either or, and just go to firmware upgrade and just update the firmware of that particular site. Thank you. That's basically it. So the troubleshooting, I haven't included it on the slide because you still use the iSolar Cloud app to troubleshoot the system. If you ever get a fault on the system, the iSolar Cloud app itself is the troubleshooting manual. And that's basically it. I'm not sure if you guys have any questions.
Thanks, Remission, for that training. It was great. I just have a question in regards to your third-party controller. So let's say, for instance, in our case, we have especially with the what is the Logger 1000, the Logger 1000.
Yes.
Is there how do you call this thing now? Is there anything that you need to enable from our side for like control? Like in terms of like we want to control the inverter, is there anything that needs to be set for that power control to take place? Because now we'll be using a third party, but we still want to have that Logger 1000. Is there anything that needs to be activated, or is it just like as long as you establish communication, then it's all good?
So the only thing that you need to do on that, depending on how you are communicating with the logger. So if it's TCP,
let's say TCP IP, yeah.
Yeah, so let's say TCP IP. You plug in the switch. Both logger and the controller must be on the same IP, like basically the same local network. They must be able to see each other. And then under power control, you just tell the logger that you are using remote power control. You just have to select remote power control. So on the slide, you saw where the last part where there's local power control and the closed loop thing. That won't be there. It will just be remote power control. As long as it knows that it's remote power control, it becomes a gateway to the iSolar Cloud and access to the settings of the inverters. So it waits for commands on the controller and then tells the inverters what to do. Exactly what is coming from the controller, the inverters will do that. But it still offers you access to the iSolar Cloud, basically, yes.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for that. Yeah. I'm not sure if anybody else has a question. Okay, looks like that might have been the only question. Remission, thank you for the training, and also, yeah, if you can just send us that also documentation, and then we'll then share it with our everybody here in the training. And then just another thing to mention, to ensure that you receive the recording after the webinar, you just need to make sure that you register. The link has been put in by Zane. And also another thing, we hope to see you all at the solar show. We will be there from the 18th to the 20th. We'll be in Hall 3, stand 6, C46. So you can pop by, come for free coffee, and we'll also discuss on. Yeah, definitely.
I'll be there.
So hope to see everyone there. And yeah, also another thing, there's a German company. So on the 19th, we'll have some beer and pretzels at 4 o'clock. So that'll be good to see everyone and just get to meet everyone in person and socialize.
Yeah. No worries.
But yeah, perfect. If there's no more questions, I think we can then just call this the end of the training, and hoping to see you guys in the next training next week.
So just share with me what you call your email address. Just you can just pop it here so that I can copy it, and I'll just send you the document.
Okay, perfect. We'll do that.
Oh, no worries.
Remission, I sent you a message via Teams. You can just send it directly to me. Thank you.
No worries. I get that. No worries. I just saw your message now. Okay, cool.